What is one interesting story you had when you were the ambassador of Mexico to China?
Ooh, I could spend all day talking about that. I accompanied Vice President Xi Jinping to Mexico on his first trip abroad as a vice president. I met on many occasions with then Secretary General Hu Jintao. I traveled every single province in China. I visited every province. I met with most of the party secretaries, many of who are now in the standing committee of the Politburo or in the previous one. No, it was 6 years. So it was a very eventful 6 years. I arrived in 2007. That was the Beijing Olympics of 2008, the 60th anniversary of the PRC in 2009, the Shanghai Expo in 2010. So I can give you many, many stories. I don't know if I can pick one in particular right now. I'd have a hard time. It was just a fantastic, fantastic experience that has stayed with me ever since. And I still reminisce with my colleagues from then, with my family. It was just a fantastic time. I did get to meet, for instance, a lot of the businessmen that you see in the news now very prominently. I got to meet them when they weren't that prominent. So, for instance, I visited with the chairman of BYD in Shenzhen in 2007. Back then, BYD was a borderline startup. Warren Buffett had already invested in it. And I remember my reason for visiting all these provinces and all these businessmen was to invite them to invest in Mexico. Mexico, as you know, has a free trade agreement with North America, with many Latin American countries, with the EU. Mexico is the second country in the world with the most free trade agreements. So we believe that Mexico is a good place for manufacturers who export. And I was visiting the chairman of BYD and inviting him to invest in Mexico for his electric car manufacturing. And he sat with me. Again, let me put it in perspective. This is 2007. Electric vehicles were not that prominent. It was more of a curiosity. It was something, you sort of saw them as golf carts, like, wow, it's a silent car. What do you mean? I got to drive one around. It was a BYD, and the plant is like, wow, it's silent. But nobody knew about electric vehicles or thought they would be such a big thing back then. And I was going through the reasons why he should manufacture in Mexico in order to access the US market. And he was asking me about the rules of origins, how much of the car had to be manufactured in Mexico in order to qualify for access into the North American market. And as we were going through the numbers, I remember he stopped me and said, no, that makes no sense to me, because an electric car, 50% of an electric car vehicle is the battery. And I will never do the batteries outside of China. I'm like, okay, that I tried, and that's that. And now, of course, you go fast forward and to present day, and you see CATL and all these behemoths of electrical vehicle batteries manufacturers. And that was a case that I got to witness how China had the foresight to very early say, this we will do here. And it did not happen by coincidence. It was not happenstance. It was not just a company that grew. There was the foresight to say, this we will do here, and we will, and so that's something that has stayed with me. I visited with the chairman of Geely cars, and back then they were a very small manufacturer, and I visited with him many times, and we talked about him going to Mexico, and he was afraid. Now, of course, this was then he came and bought Volvo and 10% of Mercedes-Benz and all these other, and became again a huge company that now I visited with Jack Ma in Hangzhou before he was an international name the way he is now. And I could go on and on about all these people, and I got to, perhaps I would say, experience the foresight of these businessmen, the fact that that they knew where they were going. And of course, we read about them these days, and you think that they just came out of nowhere. And I know they did not come out of nowhere. I know I got to see how they were building what they were building. So that was an experience I particularly treasured. I got the opportunity to visit many provinces that many people don't get to visit, whether it's Tibet, Xinjiang, Shanghai, all these provinces that was just fantastic opportunity for me. Again, I got to accompany Vice President Xi Jinping in his first trip abroad, and I remember, just don't ask me why I remember this, but I just remember this. And you, since you're from Beijing, you'll remember this as well. I remember as I was waiting for him to deplane, I checked my phone and I saw that the CCTV tower was on fire. Remember, it was a Chinese New Year, and through fireworks on what used to be the Mandarin Oriental Hotel right in front of the CCTV tower caught fire. And as then Vice President Xi Jinping exited the stairs and we were walking to the car, I remember telling him, "Did you see that the CCTV tower just got on fire?" He was like, "No, what are you talking about?" He called someone and said, what was it about? So it was just breaking the news of something that was probably not important for a vice president, but I did get to break the news to vice president. Again, these are just anecdotes. They amount to nothing in particular other than memories that I have.